Welcome everyone to Monday Match Analysis. I'm Gill Gross, and it is time to preview the final major of 2021. The US Open is just about here, beginning tomorrow, recording on Sunday morning. Can't wait for this tournament for so many reasons. I can tell you from a personal perspective, I am working the tournament for US Open Radio. You can listen to US Open Radio on the US Open app. I don't think there are any geo blockers either, so I'm pretty sure wherever you are, you can listen to that. So you'll hear me at some points. I'm actually a court reporter, so I'll be on the outer courts, giving these kind of quick hits about the matches I'm seeing. I won't really be on Arthur Ashe Stadium very often, but I'll be all around the outer courts. I think a little bit of Armstrong Grandstand and everything else. So the reason I lead with that is I just want to give a heads up about the content before I get into my quarter-by-quarter preview. As always, I'm just going to take, I want to use YouTube to take you guys through the experience with me. So I'm not necessarily going to be breaking down the biggest matches in detail and in depth every time, because I don't really get to control which matches I might, be watching start to finish and which I won't. But I will have a cool experience at the U.S. Open, and I'll be experiencing the tournament in, I think, a special way. And I'm going to just try to bring you guys along with me in terms of the content on YouTube. So that's the plan. Of course, this is the U.S. Open preview. I will give you the top seeds. I will give you my quarterfinal prediction, a dark horse, upset alert, and a popcorn matchup. This video is brought to you by Rally Tennis. Rally Tennis is a new mobile app that makes it easy to play tennis in your area, whether you want to compete or just train. Creating an account is free. Just head over to rallytennis.com or search for Rally Tennis in the App Store. And if you sign up and use me, Gill Gross, as your referrer, you'll also get $10 towards your account. This video is also sponsored by BetUS. Bet on the US Open at betus.com. Sign up using bonus code GILL and get an exclusive 125% bonus on your first deposit. They've got Djokovic as the favorite, followed by Medvedev, Zverev, and Tsitsipas in that order. All the futures odds, individual matchups as well. And make sure you take advantage of that bonus on the deposit. Those are always very helpful and very important. Please gamble responsibly. And a quick reminder that my picks do not reflect the odds. I don't take the odds into account when I make these picks on my preview. I'm just picking outright, so do be aware that picks may not always reflect value. All right, can't wait for it. There's the thumbnail, Arthur Ashe Stadium, the largest stadium in men's tennis. And with that, let's get to the first quarter, Novak Djokovic's quarter. The top seeds are Berrettini, Hurkacz, De Minaur, Sonego, Karatsev, Goffin, and Fognini. Here's my thoughts on this quarter as a whole. I think that many of the seeds are vulnerable. As you can see, I have Alex De Minaur and David Goffin on upset alert. I think that Goffin will likely be an underdog against Mackenzie McDonald. I make Alex De Minaur and Taylor Fritz probably a 50-50 match. Those are the two seeds in Djokovic's section. I don't think the seeds are really strong in the section as a whole. I think Fognini hasn't been able to make much of a run at all. Sonego is dangerous, but very, very limited, especially if he goes up against a guy like Novak, who's going to make returns to his backhand. He pretty much is very vulnerable after that. And then Berrettini, the top seed in the quarter, can be very, very good, but comes in without a lot of match play and injury concerns coming off the thigh. Didn't look good in Cincinnati either. Now, there are a lot of unseeded players that are really dangerous here. That's my big takeaway for Djokovic's quarter. The seeds aren't really great, but there are so many floaters in here that are kind of eye-popping. Kei Nishikori ultimately is the one I made my dark horse, but there's also Jenson Brooksby. There's also Marton Fucsovics. There's also Ilya Ivashka, who just won Winston-Salem and looked very, very good doing so. Even Denis Kudla is playing really, really good tennis. I made Kei Nishikori, my dark horse. He's good at the U.S. Open. He's been playing better and better. He had the Andrei Rublev upset at the Olympics, and his fitness is never in question. Best of 5 on the hard courts. He'll continue to do his thing. I don't think Novak wants to play him in very, very hot weather. You know, Kei would make Novak work very hard. Nishikori's only beat Djokovic once. It was that 2014 U.S. Open, and that's kind of what did it. It was an extremely hot day, and Nishikori just handled that better. Upset alert, De Minaur and Goffin, I mentioned. Early popcorn matches, Djokovic's round 1. Novak Djokovic against Holger Rune, the teenage Dane, who is very talented, works hard, has a good ground game, keeps the ball on the court, good consistency, good physicality. Do I think he's ready to make this a close and interesting match? I really don't. A couple weeks back, the last time he played a top player, he played Casper Ruud on clay, and it was one-way traffic. So I really think it might be similar, but I'm interested to see Novak Djokovic's return to the court. It has obviously been a little while. And Rune is a first-round opponent that, even if he can't make it competitive, intriguing. A young up-and-comer, no doubt. So let's reveal the quarterfinal. The quarterfinal, I have Novak Djokovic defeating Matteo Berrettini. I considered other options for Berrettini, considering I'm not 100% sure that Matteo is going to be serving at 100%, which I think is going to be essential for his game. I do think he drew a pretty tough first-round opponent in Jeremy Chardy, who's had a pretty solid 2021. So I think that is kind of a scary first round for Berrettini. But if it's not going to be him, it would probably be Lorenzo Sonego or more likely Hubert Hurkacz. I wasn't able to pick Hurkacz over Berrettini, though. I just think that's not a great matchup for Hubie. And if there's going to be a surface that helps Hubie in that matchup, I do feel like it's Wimbledon, a surface that plays a little bit quicker for Hurkacz, not a surface like the U.S. Open. Berrettini, as good as he is on grass, he has a lot of qualities that really work well on a slow court a lot better. So I couldn't pick Hurkacz in that one. I'm going with Berrettini. Let's see if his health holds up. But nonetheless, I do pick Djokovic in this quarter. His path is beating Rune, Jan-Lennard Struff, who is not playing well as of late. Kei Nishikori in round 3. Again, the conditions will be key. I think Djokovic will hope for that match to be played at nighttime. Jenson Brooksby in round 4. I do think the American can make a run, and I really hope he does. I think it would be electrifying. And then ultimately, Matteo Berrettini. All right. Our next quarter is the number 4 seed, Alexander Zverev's quarter. The top seeds are Denis Shapovalov, Pablo Carreño Busta, Yannick Sinner, Gael Monfils, Riley Opelka, Karen Khachanov, and Alexander Sasha Bublik. Zverev throughout the season has had really, really kind draws at the majors. There's no denying that. And here it seems like draw luck has kind of balanced out, because for the first time, he really does have a difficult quarter. I would argue that it is the most difficult quarter, although it's not clear that Zverev has the most difficult path, because the most stacked part of the quarter is not Zverev's section, but the section below Zverev's section, which would be Zverev's potential quarterfinal. With that being said, 6 of the 14 names in my U.S. Open power ranking, remember the top 10 and then the 4 next out, 6 of the 14 are in this quarter. There are so many names in this quarter that I had very high hopes for this tournament. And as a result, I think it is a very difficult quarter to be in. And it's the quarter I'm most looking forward to watching play out. It's going to be very, very interesting. My dark horse in this quarter is Sebastian Korda. There are not going to be a lot of players if Korda is healthy, and I think he's had durability issues this season without a doubt. But if Korda is healthy, I don't think that there are a lot of players who are going to be able to hit forehands and backhands with him from the back of the court. For that reason, I do believe he is the most dangerous unseeded player in this section, and he is my dark horse here for sure. Upset alert is Denis Shapovalov. Now, this wasn't a no-brainer to me. There weren't any upset alerts that really stuck out as obvious choices here. But the reason I did go with Denis Shapovalov is obviously his 0-3 form since Wimbledon. The fact that he really does need to build up some confidence and Federico Del Bonis in the first round. I know Del Bonis is a clay courter, but I don't consider that an easy one. I consider that a dangerous one. Roberto Carballes Baena in the second round is someone who beat him at Roland Garros in a fantastic match. Tommy Paul could also be the second round. He's an interesting player as well. I mean, he is a somewhat talented American who hasn't put up great results, but would obviously be inspired to play against Shapovalov and moves very well and defends. And then he has kind of, I don't know if the third round would be considered an upset, but this is where I actually have Shapovalov losing in my draw, is Khachanov in the third round. I think Khachanov played Shapovalov at Wimbledon really, really well, and it was a 50-50 match. And I think if Shapovalov doesn't serve as well as he did in that Wimbledon match, which is likely because he was just serving so hot at that point, I think Khachanov would have a good chance to get through that. So I think Shapo, tough draw, bad form. That's why he is my upset alert. But if he gets a couple of wins rolling, look, it would not shock me if he made it all the way to the quarterfinal or beyond. Also, the expectation factor. How is he going to handle the recent Wimbledon success? That's another thing that I'll be looking out for. My early popcorn match is Sebastian Korda against another candidate for a dark horse in this draw, which is Nicolas Basilashvili, who's been so inconsistent. But that is a round one matchup that I think will be on a big court. It'll be key for Korda, and that's a high level, high quality first round match with two of the more dangerous floaters. I will say before I move on from this quarter, there is, and I should throw Basilashvili in this, obviously, Nicolas Basilashvili is still awaiting trial in Georgia for his domestic violence case, but Alexander Zverev is more evidence, more corroborated timeline information has come out in the accusations of domestic abuse against Alexander Zverev. It is in a new Slate article, and I do encourage everyone to read that piece. So it's in Slate. New details and a difficult read, obviously, but new details emerging in those accusations, and I just think everyone should give that a look. So let's move on to the quarterfinal. And I have Alexander Zverev getting through Pablo Carreño Busta in the quarterfinal. So let me just expand on this bottom section. The potential Zverev quarterfinal opponents, okay? You have Carreño Busta there, but Riley Opelka is in there. Sebastian Korda is in there. Jannik Sinner is on the top half with Zverev, and that would be a fascinating matchup. I do hope we get to see Zverev Sinner. That would be a lot of fun. That's a potential fourth round. But Pablo Carreño Busta, Karen Khachanov, Denis Shapovalov, Riley Opelka, all four of those guys were a part of the U.S. Open Power Rankings, either next out or in the top 10. They are all in the same section on the bottom half here. So I go with Pablo Carreño Busta, but all of those guys are dangerous. All of those guys could potentially be in the quarterfinal. And I just encourage everyone to watch this bottom half play out because there are so many great players here and the entertainment is going to be super, super high. Okay, so there's a final look at Alexander Zverev's quarter, and let's move on to the number 3 seed, Stefanos Tsitsipas' quarter. His top seeds are Andrei Rublev, FAA Felix Auger-Aliassime, Christian Garin, Roberto Bautista Agut, Hugo Humbert, Cameron Norrie, and Filip Krajinovic. I feel like Krajinovic is always the 32 seed. Does he, right? He's always the 32 or the 30. It's like his ranking never changes. He's got like a superpower to say in the exact same ranking. All right. This quarter's all right. No real big takeaways from the strengths of this quarter, but I will say there's a lot of great first rounds here. So I will be looking forward to I believe that would be Tuesday when the bottom half plays, and there's some good first rounds here. My dark horse is Pedro Martinez. Martinez is a potential round 2 matchup with Andrei Rublev, and he plays James Duckworth in the first round. I like Pedro's physicality. He's a big, explosive athlete. He moves well. He has a his game is definitely predicated around his forehand. It is very big and it is very heavy, but the cross-court backhand can also be pretty damaging as well. And when it's consistent, it's very good. He's someone who works hard. Again, I think he's got great physical attributes. He's got a very good kick serve as well. He is a slow hard quarter and a clay quarter, but Pedro Martinez is someone that I think has been playing some good ball all season long, and these conditions could suit him. I don't think he would be easy for Andrei Rublev. I have Andrei Rublev on upset alert as well. Again, it certainly wouldn't surprise me if Rublev does go deep here, but I have him on upset alert because I'm wondering if Cincinnati was a little bit of fool's gold for him. I didn't think he was playing well until the Medvedev match. Obviously, caught fire there against Daniil, played a really good match against someone who he hadn't beaten in a while, then got smoked by Zverev. But overall, in the big picture of Andrei Rublev, I'm a little bit concerned about, one, the pressure building up where he just hasn't quite performed at majors to the best of his ability, and I think he's probably feeling that pressure. I'm a little bit concerned about his physicality in the best of 5 at majors at this point. I still think that there's some work to be done on his body. He has made a lot of progress physically over the years, so that is a good sign for the future of Andrei Rublev, that he can continue to build on that. He has gotten bigger and stronger. His serve has improved as a result, but I just think there is work to do. I think a tough draw combined with the pressure buildup and the fact that I think his form has been up and down recently, even though he made the final in Cincinnati, all those factors combine for me to put Andrei Rublev on upset alert. If he does get upset, man, this could be a pretty wide open section. Francis Tiafoe is in there. He is a potential dark horse that I didn't go with. I went with Pedro Martinez, but Tiafoe was a candidate for sure. Felix Auger-Aliassime, such a wild card. Again, nobody's playing with a bigger range of outcomes than Felix. His best level, clearly a top 10 level. His worst level, not a top 50 level. And very few players you can say that about. So FAA could go so many different directions. Roberto Bautista Agut has been, to me, disappointing ever since he got, ever since clay court season, and I never expect anything from him during clay court season. So it's really after clay court season where RBA has really not lived up to the results that he would want. So I don't know if RBA is a factor. All this to say that outside of Stefanos Tsitsipas on the bottom half, things could get pretty crazy here. And I think this is a candidate. If we are going to get a surprise semifinalist, I think that this is the section that it could potentially come from. There's so much early popcorn here, as I mentioned in the beginning. Ivo Karlovic versus Andrei Rublev in the first round for one. Now, a couple of interesting things going on here. The main reason this is early popcorn is because Ivo Karlovic, this could be his last match. And to pay homage to him, he needs to be an early popcorn because he's had a great career. And I'm so glad he qualified here. That's unbelievable. I'm really glad he gets his shot at a main draw. Another thing is that Andrei Rublev normally doesn't like to play these kinds of players, the big servers. And he doesn't really like slice either. And Ivo slices every backhand pretty much. So I don't know if that could get interesting. I mean, Ivo has not been a threat to any tour level player in a big way in a very long time. However, there are arguments to be made that maybe that could get interesting. The other early popcorn I have is Cam Norrie versus Carlos Alcaraz. Norrie's been so solid and is so fun to watch, puts so many balls in the court, works so hard, 100% effort level on every single point, good lefty spins as well. Alcaraz is just a young guy that I think everyone should be continuously watching at all times, and I'm curious to see. He's been pretty good in the best of 5 so far. He's been good in the majors, but a run is probably coming for Carlos Alcaraz, and that's one that I'll definitely have my eye on. Lastly is the one with the biggest names by far out of any first-round matchup, and that's Stefanos Tsitsipas and Andy Murray. Now, honestly, I don't think Murray can hang here, unfortunately. If he does hang, which I really hope he does, excuse me, if he is able to hang, it's going to be a lot of fun. But in all likelihood, he won't. Obviously, for the name recognition, that's an early popcorn match. That's one that we'll be wanting to watch. I still really enjoy watching Murray compete these days. There's no doubt about that. Even if he's not at his best level, it's still a great thing to watch. Okay. Quarterfinal. Stefanos Tsitsipas defeats Felix Auger-Aliassime. I went with FAA. I think he has the highest ceiling of all these guys. He's comfortable on the hard courts. It allows him to take the ball on the rise. So, I took the optimistic glass half full. A lot of you guys get on me for my, in my opinion, my honesty about Felix, who's just frustrated me the last couple of years with his development. But in this case, I'm gonna go optimism, Felix optimism, glass half full, and I have him making the quarterfinals, but falling to Stefanos Tsitsipas, who I think comes in playing really good tennis. There have been some issues. I think his on-court demeanor has looked a little bit throwback to like 2020, 2019, and I thought he had kind of put that stuff behind him. And I think if you're going to be a professional with consistency who competes day in and day out with a sustainable level, I think you need to calm down on the court a little bit. That's just my overall opinion. But his tennis is still really, really good. And my path for him is beating Murray, Pierre-Herbert, Cameron Norrie, and Hugo Humbert in the fourth round, who's, they keep playing over and over again, and Humbert presents challenges. But on the slower court surface, I do think this U.S. Open could be a little bit too slow and a little bit too heavy for Humbert. So I have Tsitsipas getting through there. That's a really weak section, by the way, with Christian Garin and Humbert, and really no unseeded players that jump out. So big opportunity for Humbert, who's had really bad draw luck, to try to make a round 4. And Humbert should expect to make a round 4 here. I think if he doesn't, he might be disappointed. So that's an interesting wrinkle here. As I said, in the top half, you have Tiafoe, Rublev, FAA, and RBA, and I think that one could get a little bit crazy, could get a little bit messy. So Stefanos Tsitsipas' quarter, it's an interesting one, but I think a great quarter for Tsitsipas. I think this is a good draw for him. There are lefties. There's a guy in Pierre-Herbert who might serve and volley and might test those return skills. That could be a little bit interesting. But for the most part, he avoids the big server, that big bomber who could get him in trouble. No Isner, no Opelka. Raonic isn't playing. No, I don't know who some other ones are, but yeah, no massive server. No Kyrgios. I think Kyrgios could give him issues as well. So good quarter for Tsitsipas, I would say. Finally, Daniil Medvedev's quarter. Medvedev is in a quarter with Casper Ruud, Diego Schwartzman, Grigor Dimitrov, John Isner, Dan Evans, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, and Marin Cilic. My dark horse here is Alex Molchan. Now, I probably haven't cut this deep into a dark horse since I went with Aslan Karatsev, who is 127 in the world at the Australian Open. Molchan is a guy who I've just noticed his results on the Challenger Tour. Obviously, Belgrade 2, he made the final in that tournament, or maybe Belgrade 1. One of the Belgrades. Molchan made the final, and he is someone who's just, again, the amount he's winning, you got to take notice. When a player is winning that much, as Ilya Ivashka has this year, and I've been trying to hype him up a little bit as well. When someone is winning that much, they are dangerous. Period. It doesn't matter if they're at the challenger level or if they're at the tour level. If you're going to be winning titles, which Alex Molchan has, and then he qualified here, so he's used to the conditions and he has some confidence rolling. To me, that's a dangerous player. He's a lefty. He's super athletic, and he's got a lot of skill and weapons, all court game. Not that much power, but a lot of craft to his game. No upset alert for me in this quarter. I think that the seeds are pretty safe, just mostly by nature of the unseeded players being pretty unthreatening. I think the one seed that I think could be in danger is actually the early popcorn match here, John Isner against Brandon Nakashima. And again, this is just draw. I mean, I think a lot of the top seeds, especially in the first round, have really easy relatively first-round opponents here. John Isner has a tough one, though, in Brandon Nakashima, who has played well. I'm trying to think, and I don't have this offhand. Again, I did a lot of time saving here, and I don't have a lot of stats either for you guys because of that. I'm pretty sure Brandon Nakashima has beaten some big servers in Atlanta and Los Cabos. I think it's safe to say that he did pretty well against. I think he might have a win over Isner, actually. But if not, maybe a Query or an Opelka. So that is an interesting one. Early popcorn, no doubt about it. Nakashima, Isner, very excited for that. That's can't miss in my opinion. I think the Tuesday first round matches on the men's side are incredible. Just to make a blanket statement about that. In terms of the top seeds, I think that there are some interesting names here. Not so much at the bottom, but I think it's average, actually, if I'm looking at it, with Ruud, Schwartzman, Dimitrov, and Isner. These are all players with some past success at the U.S. Open, besides Casper Ruud, who I think could be primed for a run here for the first time. So let me just get to how I see this quarter shaking out. Let's get to it. I do have Daniil Medvedev defeating John Isner. Yes, well, I do think that Isner's first round is difficult and could get tricky by nature of Brandon Nakashima and how solid he is. I do think after that, things get pretty positive for John Isner, potentially playing a guy like Diego Schwartzman and Casper Ruud. I think that those are two players that if he plays in the daytime, if he plays in the heat, I think he can use that serving advantage and attack their second serves and end up having a successful time out there. I think Isner is playing really good tennis. He's been a tough out in 2021, and I have him making the quarterfinal. There could be a rematch of Casper Ruud against Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. They could play again in the third round after their Roland Garros. I do hope that happens. I think Ruud would get through it if they got to play again. For Daniil Medvedev, his run, Richard Gasquet in the first round, Dominic Koepfer in the second, who has a really good return of serve. So I don't know if that's a reason why that could get really close, but again, it certainly helps against Medvedev to have a really good return of serve. Marin Cilic in the third round, Grigor Dimitrov in round 4. Dimitrov, maybe Cincinnati will give him some confidence. I do not have faith in Dan Evans, really. So that's Medvedev's path to the quarterfinal. Isner gets through Schwartzman and Ruud. And that's how I have this one shaking out. I think, again, pretty balanced. Pretty balanced. I like this draw. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I think this draw worked out pretty well. Okay, before we go to the final weekend, let me address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that I have picked all of the top seeds to go through, and I don't like to do that. It happened in Cincinnati. The likelihood that it happens again is very, very low. However, the likelihood that any human being gets every single semifinalist correct is very, very low. So, I think this is my takeaway from this. I have a ton of faith in these top 4 guys. I have very little faith in anyone below them. That's the truth. I think there's a really big drop-off. Number 5 in my power rankings is Andrei Rublev, and I have him on upset alert. I think there's a really big drop-off after that. That doesn't mean players are not going to play amazing tennis in this tournament. It's just hard to discern who it's going to be. And I have a really, really big confidence in the level of tennis that Zverev, Medvedev, and Tsitsipas are playing as the contenders for, obviously, Novak Djokovic, who hasn't played since the Olympics but has dominated 2021. I just have a ton of confidence. I just think they're playing great, all of them. So I could not justify an upset of any of them. And while it's unlikely that all of them are going to make it through, it was the only pick I could make. I could not pick against any of them with any sort of confidence. So that is that. Let's move on to the final weekend, beginning with the semifinals. Djokovic defeats Alexander Zverev in 5 sets. Medvedev defeats Stefanos Tsitsipas in 4 sets. I do not get too in-depth when it comes to these hypothetical matchups because they are hypothetical. But again, I think Djokovic and Zverev, to me, that's mostly a a major mental edge there for Novak and good past results, and Zverev still looking for that signature victory at a major. Medvedev Tsitsipas, that comes down to the Stefanos Tsitsipas return and how well Daniil Medvedev serves, and I think that's problematic for Tsitsipas on any quick court. All right, the final reveal. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And I have Daniil Medvedev defeating Novak Djokovic. This is probably a shock to many. It gives me no joy to do this with Novak Djokovic on the brink of monumental tennis history that I think most tennis fans would just appreciate witnessing, and I know I would. It's also been so long, and I can't remember the last time I picked against Novak on a non-clay court at a slam. I really don't remember. Maybe some of you who have been following the channel for a while can remind me when the last time it was. It was certainly, I don't know who I went with Australian Open 2019, but certainly after that, it's been Djokovic the pick every single time. And for the most part, he's proven me right. I'm going to keep the explanation for this very, very simple. I'm picking against Novak Djokovic for one reason and one reason only. I think he's playing at a major disadvantage because of the pressure. Now, for the last couple of years, I've said there is no one in the world who is better at handling the pressure than Novak Djokovic. I stand by that statement, and I still believe it to be true. And if Novak had won Wimbledon and perhaps gone through the Olympics without showing the effects of pressure, I would have just said, okay, this guy's not even human. He's not human. The pressure never affects him, and I would have picked him to win the U.S. Open here. But I saw the effects of pressure, not only at Wimbledon, which he is so good at managing his nerves that he still won, but I saw the effects of the pressure there. And then you saw the effects of the pressure combined with exhaustion. So I actually value Wimbledon a little bit more as a data point. You saw the effects of it at the Olympics as well. And that goes to show that every human, it doesn't matter who they are, has a limit for how much they're able to withstand. And the amount of pressure on Novak is more than anything I've ever seen since Serena Williams was in the same position in 2015 and lost to Roberta Vinci in the semifinal. I also think that the other three players are at such a high level right now, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, and Zverev. They're at such a high level that I don't think Novak can win with less than his best, like he was able to do at Wimbledon. I don't think that could be in the cards. I think the other two are too good. Now, some people, other three, are too good. Mostly the two, though. Mostly Zverev and Medvedev. Some people might argue that chasing their first major ever means that they're under more pressure. You can think that. I just don't agree. I think the weight of the world is on Novak Djokovic's shoulders, and I think it could easily affect his game. He will get to 21 majors at some point, but I just think the U.S. Open is going to be a particularly challenging one for him to do it at because of all of the build-up, the history, and possibly the exhaustion, the unconventional lead-up. But in one word, I'm picking against Djokovic because of the pressure. And the reason I'm comfortable, the other part of it, is I'm comfortable picking Medvedev to win a major at this point. I think his game is ready. I think his mind is ready unless he gets rattled for some reason, something happens, which can happen from time to time. But I think the likelihood is rather low. So there you have it. That is my U.S. Open preview. I can't wait. I have chills just thinking about what's to come, and I can't wait to witness a lot of it and share it with all of you. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.